Hey everyone, this is Bean Label. I'm Liam, and I'm with Jeremy at Coffeevolution in Huddersfield.
Hello there.
Nice to meet you. So before we get into finding about Coffeeovlution and what you're doing here and what you've been doing here, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Okay, well this is an Ethiopian Sidamo. It's a naturally processed coffee, and it's one that we sourced when we went to Ethiopia last February.
So,
And you're having this, it's been poured through a V60,
yeah.
and all of the sort of pertinent
Yeah.
flavours you should get is stone fruit, definitely.
That's really not powerful, because that might sound negative, but you can pick it up. It's straight away very fruity.
You can absolutely, yeah. And you quite often get that with natural coffees.
Yeah.
And in Ethiopia, it's fairly prevalent, these natural coffees, because water is difficult to come by in lots of places.
Yeah.
There's what they call garden coffees.
Mm-hmm.
People growing coffee themselves
Yeah.
and then putting it together in a cooperative and selling it.
Yeah.
And this is from a cooperative called the Guji Cooperative.
Guji?
Guji, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fantastic coffee, and we use this as a single origin, but it also goes into a couple of our blends. We've got a blend called Bernard.
This is Bean Brothers.
This is Bean Brothers,
Yeah.
yeah. We've got a blend called Bernard. It goes in. Yeah, fantastic coffee. Really great coffee. Cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy.
This kind of coffee, I just love it. That it's just got no kind of. It's just clean. It's got no dirty kind of bitter aftertaste at all.
That's
it's
right.
Really clean.
I mean, that's the process as well. It's so much that the fact that it's been filtered through a V60.
Yeah.
So you're going to get sort of cleaner, even cleaner if you're going to have it made with a Chemex.
Yeah.
And in fact, the nitro that the Artemis cold brew have just installed today,
Yeah.
the coffee they use for that is a Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, which is also natural, which you really get in the cold brew.
And you visited Yirgacheffe as well, didn't you?
Well, yeah, the Yirgacheffe and Sidamo. Yeah, we spent 10 hours in a truck driving from Addis Ababa.
So, I was going to ask about that. So we'll ask now because you brought it up. So that was a year or so ago.
Yeah.
Was that first visit to kind of meet producers type thing?
That is the first visit to meet those producers and to cup some of the coffees. So we cupped some of the coffees in Addis Ababa. Lots of coffees that we were thinking that we were interested in buying. The trip for this year is possibly going to be Guatemala. That said, I went to a cupping last night with Has-Been and Cup North, and I was speaking to Steve Layton at Has-Been, and he was suggesting we go to Costa Rica. So it may be Costa Rica in January or February next year, which may be the next trip. So we'll see.
So why? So you've only just. Well, it's a new thing for you, for being one of visiting the producers. Does it? Why do it? And does it change the way you view the coffee, or change what you pick, or?
Well, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, we've been in business here for 15 years, so for us to see, I've always been interested when you go to sort of Seville in Spain, you see oranges growing on trees and lemons, you just think, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you're not used to seeing it. You see apples and pears, potentially here, and other fruits, but so it's really interesting to see, just purely out of interest, to see things growing. That's one. It's also interesting for us to see how the people are living that are growing and picking the coffee, processing the coffee, because we want to know that the money that they're getting, or the excess money that they're getting because we pay a higher premium because it's specialty coffee, is making some difference in their lives, which it is. Not enough difference in their lives, but some.
Yeah.
So those are two of the reasons, and it's good for our customers to know that. We source coffee, roast the coffee, and make the coffee for them here. It is fairly direct as we're going to be, which is,
Without growing it, yes.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So, and it's just good to show that we have that interest in the coffee, and coffee being such an important thing, worldwide as one of the largest commodities that people are trading. It employs a lot of people worldwide. So.
All right, so let's go to. Firstly, why did you name it? Why did you name the place Coffeeovlution?
Well, actually, I won't take absolute credit for this. We had no idea what we were going to call it at the time.
Yeah.
And we went to see another guy, the supplier at the time, who's now a coffee trader called Paul Michelgiani.
Right.
And he suggested, I walked in one day and said, I can't think of a name for this coffee shop. And there was at the time a coffee shop in Sheffield called, and still is I believe, called Coffeevolution.
Yes, yeah.
And he said, well, how about Coffeevolution? That's a good idea, Coffeevolution. And because it became one of those default sort of names we settled on because we couldn't agree on one at the time, and we just pushed the two together to make a construct word and take one of the E's out. So that hence why we got Coffeevolution, and it's stuck.
It's that,
Yeah.
All right, so your personal background is a really interesting one. So I'd like to know how it led to coffee. So correct me if any of this is wrong.
Okay.
But as I understand, you've got a degree in law or studied law.
I studied law at music first.
Oh, so it was music first.
Yeah.
So you talk me through them. So I've got music, I've got PhDs, MAs.
Yeah.
So you talk me through how that law or music law
music,
or music, and then it led to coffee.
Coffee, law, music, coffee.
Yeah.
So I left at I was brought up at Huddersfield.
Yeah.
I left at 18 and I went to study at the Royal Academy of Music in London, and studied there on a 4-year course. And at some point I went to study at the Brussels Conservatoire and came back to live in London, and then I worked as a freelance violist in London, mainly playing chamber music, occasionally sort of sessions, film sessions, pop sessions, orchestral stuff in London, and quite a bit of touring was involved. And in this touring, I'd seen lots of coffee, whether it's been in sort of going over to Colombia and Venezuela playing, or being over in the States and seeing what was happening. And of course at that time, in sort of the late 90s, Starbucks were getting a hold of London, and other chains were appearing, and it was before specialty coffee, and I always wanted to set up some sort of business. So I set up Coffeevolution in 2000. After I've been doing coffee for a few years, I got slightly bored, so I did a...
Did you put the music? Was Coffeevolution your full time?
Yeah.
So
I literally finished on the 11th of December 2000, playing full time. I put my viola in its case, and on the 13th of November 2000, I opened Coffeevolution, which was just there. The left-hand side of that bar, which is a bar now called Fox.
Yeah.
The left-hand side there was Coffeevolution, which had sort of 14 seats.
Right.
And after a year, we realised we needed more than 14 seats to make a decent amount of cash. So we moved over here. This was available. Yeah. The law thing came in because I just wanted academic challenge at that point. So that's what that occurred. And then after 10 years of doing Coffeevolution, just before we started the Bean Brothers with my brother James, I thought my parents would have liked me to carry on playing the viola, and I'm not going to do it of my own volition, so I'll just do a master's at the uni, which will make me get my viola out. So I did a master's, and now I've started a PhD since.
And you're doing that alongside.
Yes.
Coffeevolution.
Yes.
That's
trying to do it alongside.
Trying
to do it alongside.
Okay, cool. And was it when you started? So it's a long time. But was it specialty coffee when you started?
We used somebody that would have been classed in that day as specialty coffee as our coffee company, and they were supplying at the time the then UK barista champion his coffee. So in that way, but that it was really pre-specialty coffee.
Yeah.
Specialty. I'm sure they were using some specialty grade coffee,
but it was not label.
Not what we label now specialty coffee. And we've always sort of been there, sort of trying to do that on the edge of it. I mean, Huddersfield's a more difficult market than Leeds, Manchester, and certainly somewhere like London. Yeah. So it's difficult to do. It's more difficult to do.
Why is it more difficult?
It's the education factor.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't help, you're in the sort of in the square mile of London. I mean, you can't help but bump into a specialty coffee shop. I mean, they're literally everywhere. Literally within 100 metres, there might be another one. You know, it's fantastic in that respect. Whereas here, there are not so many. So when we opened 15 years ago, it was a case of saying, right, a cappuccino is this, a latte is this, a macchiato is this, explaining the menu. People literally coming to that store across there like a rabbit in the headlights, just thinking, oh dear, I've made a grave error.
I don't belong here.
They don't sell tea or coffee, they sell something else.
Yeah.
So it was a case of that, and it still is, as it is for all speciality. But of course, you know, in London, in the bigger cities, it's easier. Here, you know, permanently doing, you know, explaining what the V60 is, what this Harrier cold drip is. Now we've moved on to sort of nitro as well, so we're going to be explaining what the nitro system is, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's important. But what I think one of the bigger things that we try and do at Coffeevolution is, it can be very sort of exclusive, the speciality coffee world. And we're sort of believers so much in saying, look, I mean, I say this tastes like stone fruit and bergamot, but you might not think it does. And how can you be wrong? You're not wrong. I say I think this is good and make a value judgment about something. I can't say because you don't agree with my value judgment that you are wrong. And that, I think, is a danger, which makes it very exclusive specialty coffee. And I think to come away from that is a good thing.
It's completely subjective. And that is what Bean Label we were trying to do with Bean Label, is to make it. You know, it's not just for your hipsters.
Exactly.
You know, it's everyone can enjoy better coffee. It's infinitely better going to a place like Coffeeovlution than it is one of the chains. The experience, the coffee.
I mean, that's one of the purposes behind the names of the Bean Brothers coffees. Is sort of the anti-hip. So that's why we went. The first one was called Derek. And then we've got Bernard and Gladys and Jeannie. So they're just this is the sort of the antithesis of all that is hip.
I'm going to go for Keith next. Or something
Pronounce Keith.
Keith,
Stella Street.
That'd be good. Next one. Maybe one of your nitros. Coffeeovlution, 14 years, 15 years. Bean Brothers, how long has Bean Brothers been going?
Well, let's say we have been commercially roasting, and when I say commercially, on a 10 kilo roaster, so very small batches, since February 2014.
Right.
So that puts us 2 years and 3 months. We started technically a year before that on something that I can only tell you looks a little bit like a microwave.
I know what you mean. I've seen them.
The sort of with a sort of almost a very poor rotating drum that James used to roast in his garage. Quite frankly, to cool the beans round, he used to get some oven gloves on and run around the garden shaking it to cool the beans down. So we were actually roasting over 3.5 years ago, but commercially.
So, coffee shop was going for a long time before you started roasting. Commercially. Why did you decide to do it?
I think it was the next step for us. I mean, just to want to have all those links in place. You know, your ideal, isn't it? You've got a farm yourself. You know, you live in a country that you could possibly grow. You would grow the beans. You would harvest the beans, process the beans, roast the beans, grind the beans, sell the beans. You know, ideally, that's where we'd like to go, and we're as near to it as we can be at the moment. You know.
So it's about taking as much ownership and control of the process that you can.
Well, if you imagine, when we give talks about coffee, we often say that providing somebody with a cup of coffee is an exercise in damage control. Because you imagine how many things can go wrong along the chain. And funnily enough, some of the worst things that can go wrong are actually in the coffee shop. With the barista. You know, water, grinder, knowledge, some of the worst, some of the biggest mistakes. If you imagine just in growing, processing, transporting, holding, all those, roasting, there are so many areas that things can go wrong along the way. And that's what we say, it's sort of damage limitation, sort of damage control. And so that was another thing, being able to control what we were buying and whether the beans were good and whether we wanted any more and so on and so forth. And so that's really, and it was the next step for us really.
And then kind of almost last thing, you had Jeremy Vine yesterday, so I just missed him. Did you get many celebs
We've had a few in over the years. The trouble is, I don't recognise Arthur. It's usually myself that do. We had. It's going to come to me now. The lead singer of Mumford & Sons.
Right, I don't know what his name is, but
And his wife or his partner is a famous actress.
oh,
And I can't remember what her name is.
Is it from?
No, I don't think. I think he played a gig here, and she was sat over there. So we do get all sorts of people in the end.
Well, I think it's one of the things, like, you know, I think with athletes as well, with a lot of people love coffee, and I think they scout out, if you're in Huddersfield,
Yeah.
you want to scout out a good place for coffee, and obviously, you know,
Yeah.
you're going to come up, you've been here for a long time, and there's not going to be that many other options.
No.
So,
So we get all. I would say it's a real mix of. I think in the early days we used to be very student friendly, especially when we moved here. Downstairs, we've been smoking here in those days.
Yeah,
And
well,
downstairs, all the kids were hanging downstairs, smoking fags. Nobody could see them upstairs, hanging out with whoever they wanted to, doing whatever they wanted to, and just sort of downstairs. It's completely changed now, so we've got a real mix, you know, all ages.
And so what's the future for Coffeevolution and Bean Brothers?
I've absolutely no idea.
No plans to...
I used to think I wasn't going to open another coffee shop. I think that may not be the case. I may well open another one. Bean Brothers to continue to grow. And to be able to continue to travel. We love the travel side of it. We love going to meet these people that grow coffee and the families that grow coffee. But in about 6 years' time, I'm going to go live in Canada because my wife's Canadian.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
In Vancouver, which has also got a fantastic coffee scene.
Yes, take it. Well, not take it over there, it's already there.
Oh yeah,
You know,
it's fantastic over, especially in places like Vancouver. In smaller places out of the way, in British Columbia it's not, but definitely Vancouver's got a lot going on.
Alright, well, really nice to meet you, Joey. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being
Absolutely.
part of Bean Label. And if you're in Huddersfield, come check it out.
Absolutely.
See you
Cheers.
next time.